Right now, there's a phone in your pocket. It knows exactly where you are. It knows the fastest road home. It can tell you if it's going to rain in 3 hours. You're connected to a network built by billions of people you will never meet. Now cut it off. No GPS, no signal, no map. Nothing telling you which way is north. Because for most of human history, losing your way wasn't inconvenient. It was fatal. Picture this instead. You're standing on a small wooden boat. Around you, nothing but black water. No city lights on the horizon, no coastline. Just cold wind and waves that never stop moving. Could you find your way home? Here's the strange part. We've launched satellites that can pinpoint any spot on Earth, and yet many of us can't find our way without a glowing rectangle telling us where to turn. Tens of thousands of years ago, someone faced a much scarier version of that same question. They stood at the edge of an ocean they had never crossed before. They had no idea if there was land out there, or nothing at all. And somehow, they built a boat anyway. Then they sailed straight into open water, toward a place they couldn't see, that no one had ever proven existed. This isn't a legend. It's sitting in the archaeological record. Somewhere between 50,000 and 65,000 years ago, humans reached Australia. And Australia has never been connected to Asia by land, not once. To get there, someone had to cross real ocean out of sight of any shore. Let that sink in for a second. This happened before cities, before writing, before anyone had ever drawn a map of anything. Which means the real question isn't, what kind of boat did they build? The real question is, how do you convince yourself to sail toward a world you have zero proof exists? Look at the ocean today, and most of us see chaos, waves going nowhere in particular. Wind that keeps changing its mind. Water that looks the same in every direction. But someone crossing that same ocean thousands of years ago wasn't looking at chaos. They saw something we no longer see. Not water, not waves, signals. Patterns hidden inside the noise. The ocean wasn't silent. They had learned how to listen. The direction waves broke told them how currents were moving underneath the surface. The shape of clouds on the horizon hinted at land they couldn't see yet. Birds flying a certain way at a certain time of day meant shore was close. The position of stars told them whether they were drifting off course. They weren't following a path that already existed. They were building one, invisibly, in real time, using signals that had been sitting in plain sight the entire time. They weren't memorizing thousands of disconnected signals. They were learning how those signals fit together. The wind wasn't just wind. The waves weren't just waves. The stars weren't just lights in the sky. Everything was connected, and that's the part that should stop you. The ocean hasn't changed. The sky hasn't changed. The stars are in the same place they've always been. What changed is us. We have access to more information than any humans in history, and somehow we notice less of it than people who had nothing. So where did that ability come from? Why can some brains pull a sense of direction out of what looks, to the rest of us, like total noise? The answer might be sitting inside your skull right now. Because those ancient voyagers weren't using magic. They were using a navigation system that had been inside human brains for millions of years. To understand how, we have to look at a strange discovery. In the late 1960s, neuroscientist John O'Keefe discovered something strange while studying rats moving through a maze. Certain brain cells only activated when the animal was in a specific location. Move to another place, and a different group of cells would fire. He called them place cells, and you have them too. Every time you walk into your kitchen, your bedroom, or a familiar street, your brain is not just remembering a place. It is rebuilding a map of where you are. Your brain isn't just a place where memories sit. It's a navigation device. One part of it, called the hippocampus, doesn't work anything like a phone screen. It doesn't display a map. It builds one fresh every single time you move. That's why someone who's walked the same route to work for 10 years can do it without thinking. Their body already knows the way before their mind catches up. But here's the part scientists really wanted to know. If you use that skill hard enough, for long enough, does it actually change your brain? So they studied a group of people who spend years doing almost nothing but navigate. London cab drivers. Before they're allowed to drive a taxi in London, they have to memorize the entire city. Tens of thousands of streets. Countless routes between them. No GPS allowed during training. They have to build the whole map in their heads. Brain scans of these drivers showed something remarkable. The part of their brain tied to spatial memory had physically grown larger than average, which tells us something important. The brain isn't fixed. It's shaped by whatever we force it to do again and again. Now imagine a life where every single day demanded that kind of navigation. Finding water. Tracking an animal across unfamiliar ground. Crossing land you'd never seen before, with no one to ask for directions. That wasn't a special skill for ancient humans. That was Tuesday. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If environment shapes the brain, and our environment has completely changed, what happened to us? But here's something even stranger. Archaeologists have discovered that over the last 30,000 years, the average human brain has actually shrunk by roughly 10%, a surprisingly large change in a very short period of human history. That doesn't mean we got dumber. It means our intelligence moved somewhere else. Once, a person had to carry almost everything in their own skull. Where the water was, which direction was home, what was safe to eat. The entire map of their world lived inside one brain. Then we started putting that knowledge outside ourselves. Language, then writing, then maps drawn on paper, then books, then computers. Now artificial intelligence. None of this makes technology the villain. GPS makes travel safer. Maps make exploring easier. Every tool we've built has pushed the edges of what one person can do. But every time a tool takes over a skill, it quietly takes something else with it. The chance to keep training that skill ourselves. We remember fewer routes. We notice less of the world around us. We trust our own sense of direction less and less because we've never had to lean on it. So here's the part that should actually unsettle you. It's not that ancient humans had better technology than we do. They didn't. They had nothing. What they had was a brain still doing the job our devices do for us now. They didn't need a map to cross an ocean because their brain was the map. We've since drawn a map of the entire planet, and somehow we've gotten worse at reading the ground under our own feet. Civilization gave us the power to control the world around us, but it also quietly rewired what it means to be human inside our own skulls. We didn't lose the abilities our ancestors had. We just handed them off, piece by piece, to the things we built. So maybe the story isn't that humans climbed out of the primitive and into civilization. It's simpler and stranger than that. Next time you look down at that glowing rectangle in your palm, ask yourself who is actually doing the thinking. Ancient humans crossed oceans because their brain was connected to the world around them. Modern humans built a world connected through machines. The strange question is not whether technology made us smarter. It did. The question is, what abilities did we stop using because we no longer had to?